This review was made possible by the Yojo Outlet Center, specializing in vintage G.I. Joe toys and parts.
Hello everyone, I'm Kevin, Always4 and BX257, here to bring you another 1980s G.I. Joe toy review. And for this second Navy theme month, I'll be taking a look at the Cobra small playset, the 1988 Battle Barge. Now the Battle Barge doesn't make any cartoon appearances, but it doesn't make any comic book appearances either. For the cartoon, I could kind of understand there wasn't any cartoon in 1987 and 1988. But for the comic book, that's actually very strange because there was a lot of waterborne action in the comic books around the time that this was released. So it is rather unfortunate that it was never shown.
The Battle Barge is a very simple playset, or maybe you can consider it an accessory. It's just made up of this one large solid base with 3 molded in seats. It has 3 of these swiveling cannons, which elevate as well. As you can see, the actual cannon portion itself pops off fairly easily, but it pops on right back on there. And you'd have to abuse it quite a bit in order for it to just pop off often anyway. And they're right in front of each of the seats. And then finally you have this very complicated looking radar dish, which swivels all the way around. And that's really it. As far as seating goes, the seating is rather big and open. So, in the same year that the Battle Barge was released, you also have the 1988 Hydro Viper, very appropriate for a sea-bound little base. You can even keep the big flippers on. I suppose you can also keep his backpack tanks on, but I wouldn't really bother with that. And you can just sit on one of these seats just like that. And even with the big flippers, there's, like I said, quite enough space for it to flop out, and he sits in there relatively well with them on. Now, the packaging art actually does show the Hydro Viper, of course, being a cross-sell from the same year. But it also shows 2 other figures in here. The similar year 1988 Toxo Viper, and a 1987 Techno Viper. Kind of an odd bunch to be manning a seaborne accessory base, but I think they chose that not only because of the similar purple colors that they all have, but the purple really pops with the gray that was on here, as well as the Toxo Viper does have a tiny little bit of red on there too. Interestingly enough, the mostly gray and dark red goes very well with the 1985 Eels, who similarly you can keep his flippers on, and he sits in there just fine and looks really well with this similar color scheme. Now you'll notice that none of the figures are actually reaching up to this handle, I think, on the gun. They can't really do that very well. I mean, I suppose you could sort of simulate it, but I don't think they're really meant to reach out and hold that cannon there. They're really meant to hold these little joysticks on each side of the seat. All 3 seats have them, so you have 6 of these joysticks in all. One of the reasons why I'm pointing this out is this is a really sturdy little playset, but the only thing that really breaks on them is these joysticks. So if you're looking for one that's absolutely 100% mint and complete, you do have to look out for whether it still has the joysticks on there, as it can be a little bit hard to see in photographs whether these joysticks are snapped off or not, because, well, the whole main body is just gray and it might be washed out in photographs sometimes. As for play value of the rotating radar dish, as you can see, this thing is kind of hitting the Toxo Viper's helmet sometimes. I kind of wish this stock was just a little bit higher, because the figures, even with like relatively normal heads, which can go under that radar dish while it's swiveling, You still have to seat them really, really low into that seat, almost perfectly flat. But sometimes you do kind of want them to have a bit more of a dynamic pose within their seats. You know, just to give them the look that they're actually holding onto the gun. Which, to me, it looks a little bit better when they're doing that rather than just holding the joysticks like robots. If you've seen my use of the Battle Barge in my end action sequences at the end of my reviews, then you'll notice that I don't use this as an aquatic accessory or base. I actually use it as a space base with the 1988 Astro Vipers. Again, curiously, same year produced. And I really do like the look of the bisected red on the gray, which really goes well with the gray of the Battle Barge. Of course, one of the reasons why I use it as a space base is because of this complicated radar array. It really does look like something off of a satellite rather than something of an earthbound nature. If you've ever seen a Battle Barge on the aftermarket, you'll notice one very odd thing about the stickers, and that they don't fit. There's these very prominent ridges and this very large Cobra symbol on all three sides. And they're all meant to fit in here, and they all don't. Now granted, there are quite a few vintage G.I. Joe stickers which don't fit properly on the vintage G.I. Joe vehicles, but it's rather odd that it's such a prominent sticker on here, and, well, quite frankly, a very important sticker, and yet they didn't manage to size it correctly. It's almost as if the sticker wasn't originally meant for the Battle Barge. There's strong evidence to suggest that the Battle Barge was intended to be a G.I. Joe accessory, not a Cobra one. Check out the blueprints. See who they're using as seated examples? Yep, that's Law, Outback, and Falcon. You don't even have to imagine what this would have looked like in G.I. Joe colors. Brazil already did that for us. Apparently, Estrella Toys didn't get the memo about the last-minute faction change and molded it in green and gray. It's a pretty cool variant, and the stickers actually fit. The mail-away Battle Barge was available through mail order in 1993, but only as part of a 2-pack with a Cobra Jetpack. Interestingly, the mail-order Jetpack was released with normal clear vinyl back stickers, like the retail release. But, as far as I can tell, all mail-order Battle Barges came with variant stickers, a solid white backed paper sheet, typical of South American releases, meaning this was probably overstock. And now to answer the question that everyone's been asking since the start of this review, does it float? Well, the Battle Barge has a very hollow bottom, so I'm guessing that instead of displacing water evenly like a boat does, it actually cups the air when you put it down into the water, rather like an upside-down bowl. However, you'll also note that, as per usual in Hasbro design, they do everything they can to make this thing sink, so of course it has holes right in the hull as well.
for this second Navy theme month, I'll be taking a look at the Cobra's small plates.
Now granted, there are quite a few G.I. Joe vehicles. Yeah. Well, that's all the time I have right now. Please check out my Facebook page for more information and behind the scenes photos for these reviews. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for next time to see another 1980s G.I. Joe toy review. See you then.